Hey, what's up everybody? How you guys doing? I got the Season 4 finale tier list here. Since there's only going to be one more patch coming out, I believe one more patch before the major patches for towards Season 5, I figured I'd do this, this final tier list. A lot of people have been asking for a big update, and generally what I do is I have the same tier list link and everything, and I just keep updating it as time goes on. But sometimes, there are either major changes or major changes in perspective on my part, or on the duel, the duel meta perspective in general of the players, on what's being played and stuff too. So this time around, it's just been a while, so I wanted to start fresh. So I completely reconstructed the entire tier list. I took apart the old one and just made a whole new page. So there's, like 2 likes instead of the whatever we had before, like 1,000 or something, and just start fresh because I figured that's the best way to go about it, objectively. So reevaluated things a bit. Right now, I feel like these are the standings for SS. I took a new approach, or back to the old approach I used to have for what SS means. Basically, SS I'd like to stand for, and many of you also commented that you'd like to stand for, the gods that are basically unbeatable, or almost unbeatable by the majority of all the other gods, or about like 90% of the other gods. And that's absolutely, in my opinion, Hebo, Kali, and Bakasura. These gods are basically uncounterable. They might have like 1 or 2 other gods that could fight well on them. Freya used to be able to beat Bakasura. I don't think that's the case anymore, or that the conventional Fatalis. A lot of them have been like slight shifts. Some of Baka's matchups against the ADCs are a little bit skewed now in his favor because of that ADC Fatalis removal. And without that, they really can't fight into him the same way that they used to. So that's what makes him so dominant. Kali, she's Kali. She's pretty much always going to have that spot. And as long as she has her Fatalis as well, which she does in the Hazen Katana, she's going to be that dominant god. Hebo as well, just such a powerhouse. He only gets more and more buffs in Duel because he never finds a place in Conquest. So, he's absurd as always. His damage output is insane. His poke is crazy. You can't follow him because his carpet is both slow immune and slows you. And and speeds him up, and he's got his 4 ultimates, including that carpet, because I think the carpet's probably the hardest thing to deal with in the 1v1, to be honest, because chasing somebody down is the most important factor. So we got, let's see, S+, like I said, the gods that were in SS, like a lot of the ADCs, or like at the AMC, the Scotty, maybe in the Freya, I put down to S+, because I think it's more in line with what I wanted to do with the direction of the tier list, and like I said, going back to the way that I had it before. I think it was a better idea, just showing SS as the gods that are the most OP. What I wanted to do before was just show gods that needed to be banned in Duel as the SS, but, conventional tier list is, SS is the perfect gods, and so that's pretty much what I wanted to go back to here. But going down the list, these are the other gods that I do think are absolutely so strong, that are, should almost always be banned out. And I generally tried to stick within the order for each of the tiers. Some of them, the broader ones like S-, I could make a few arguments myself for certain gods being lower than others, because it's hard to balance such a large tier. But yeah, within these tiers, I tried to put a lot of, effort into making sure that it at least falls in line with the same sort of reasoning that I kept throughout. So yeah, I'm really proud of this one. It shows a lot of the ADC focus that's going on right now. Basically, you can ban out the first 6 gods, but you're left with Anhur and Hou Yi. And if Scotty gets through as well, you're done. So there's not a lot of, or the first 8 gods you can ban out now, rather. And you're still left with, unfortunately, most of the time Anhur and Hou Yi, because people either won't ban the things that you're trying to ban, or, whatever. Freya, also a super powerhouse right now that a lot of people are sleeping on, just not picking that much, even though she is still insanely strong. I think people just don't really play her correctly, to be honest. Kronos, a lot of people are sleeping on because he's so banned out lately that they don't really see how strong he is. And him going into the ADCs that no longer have Fatalis, I think is a major, major benefit for him. new gods entering the field like Hachiman. I think this guy is really good. He's got potential to be in S+. He's got one of the best poke games out of any hunter. Crazy mana sustain so that he just stays in lane in the early forever and makes it incredibly difficult for you to do anything against him. And just like control, you know, his whole thing is control. That wave pressure and poke pressure that he applies to you is something that's very hard to get away from. Izanami with her buffs is incredibly powerful right now. Her boxing potential is perhaps some of the strongest in the game, and always has been, but she's struggled in other areas like being able to escape or being able to actually use her ultimate, because that ultimate was atrocious. But ever since those major buffs that they gave in those little areas that she needed a bump, she is right up there with most of the other hunters as just a menace. Cucullin embodies pretty much all of what warriors are in Duel, just these disgusting monsters that run around, are basically unkillable until you get massive amounts of pen, can take objectives very easily from you, can control the board, and easily catch you out and kill you if you make one wrong move. Cucullin is far and above the best warrior in my opinion, especially with like his health shield, you know, the double ultimate, the ridiculousness that is that character. Having anti-heal built in too makes him so strong against the hunters. And Erlang Shen still sticking up there, you know, having the same sort of boxing potential that he always had, having the tankiness, the self-sustain, the poke game, and the control that, you know, like I said, the warriors really want to be able to exert over the map. Raijin has been like, oh my god, this is probably one of the biggest changes for a god ever. He's gone from so low to such great heights. I had him in S+ before in my old tier list, but like I said, with the changing of things, I still think he's fantastic, but because everything kind of gets bumped down, he's in S. Same as ones like Medusa, who's also a fantastic god, same as, you know, Izanami and Cucullin. In the you know, perspective and the scope of my old tier list would be S+, but with the way that I structured this one, are S gods that are just fantastic and incredibly hard to beat. These are probably the most viable gods that you can get through about each game. Whereas these ones are ones that you're looking to ban on top of them, and people are auto going to pick if they do get through for the most part. And that's what makes it so frustrating for Duel. You know, there's always just that, okay, let's see what we can ban out, and then what's left. Oh, what's left? These guys, pick them. And so, you know, encouraging variety in Duel because of the whole way that the banning system works, and more importantly, because of the way that tiers work, is frustrating and discouraging. But I think this season we've seen more growth than ever, more people playing different gods, and that's allowed me to really have a better scope on the gods in general. Things like Hell I've been able to see more. Twig playing Kuzumbo allowed me to bump him up quite a bit. He could be even higher than I have him. I think that people overrate him just because Twig is so good with this character, but I'll definitely keep my eye on him. I'm gonna do the same thing with this tier list and, you know, update it as time goes on, because of course, it's probably full of holes right now. There's, you know, definitely so many gods of the game that it's incredibly hard to measure each of their skills individually when you go at it for something like this. But, you know, try to keep my my wits about me. I absolutely think that these are the worst gods. Oh, Ares should be the absolute bottom. I think Ares is the worst Guardian in Duel, simply because while he has major killing potential, he's got no push potential. His wave clear is atrocious, buff clear is non-existent. He just can't win games. He can kill you, but he can't win games. And I think that's what makes him the worst Duel god. Whereas the best Duel god, I'd say, is probably Hebo. His all-around matchup win percentage is probably the highest out of anyone. Barring maybe Kali. But yeah, so I hope you guys like the tier list. You know, I don't want to take up all the time in the world to go over every single god, so I just figured I'd go over the major top ones for you and maybe some of the lowest. Other than that, though, any big standouts? Susano, I think, is still a very strong god. They're buffing him too. They just made it so that he does a little bit more damage as the game goes on into the late as well. You know, Hi-Rez said they wanted him to be able to scale better, and you know that's a problem for Duel because, it's a problem for people against him in Duel because it means that he will be stronger, and he's looking to be moving on up again, in my opinion. Morrigan has shown a lot of prowess this season from people that are really adept with her. She's got a lot of sleeper potential, and I guess the big shout out Discordia looks crazy right now. I think that that is around the placement that she should be, but I'll admit that, you know, she's a tough one to rank, given that, you know, there hasn't been that much time with her. I've only played against her a handful of times and only played as her a handful of times. So yeah, she's a tough one, and she could definitely change drastically. But I do think she's one of the better mages for sure. She's her late game potential is incredible. She's so strong, she'll blow you up in seconds before you can even realize what happened. And then Apple giving her CC immunity adds so much to her. Alright, other than that, big standout stuff. Not really. Nike, I hate Nike. I think she will continue to be the worst warrior, I gotta be honest. I think she's the most easily exploitable warrior out of all of them. But at the same time, maybe gods like Odin, you know, all these guys in this tier are pretty lackluster, unfortunately for my boy Ra. Ymir, I think, is, you know, always doing better and might have potential to be A, but is still, you know, he's so limited by his mobility, and the slows are so potent against him, and, you know, it makes life so difficult for him. Hades took a big nerf because I think I was more realistic with gods that, like, when they can just straight up box him as the game goes on, once you're not overwhelmed by his crazy clear and healing game, then when it comes down to just boxing Hades, like, he can't win against almost any of the ADCs and against a lot of the higher tier gods in general when you go up the list. So yeah, that's about it for me. I hope you guys enjoy it, and, you know, peruse it. In the description down below, you'll have the link to it, of course, because it's hard to read it as I scrolled through like this. But any comments you have, let me know. You know, any critiques, any compliments, maybe, let me know. And thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel for daily uploads and more videos like this. Peace.